Hi, everyone. My name is Herb, and I welcome you to ACB News, our first broadcasting for America's Chamber for Business. I'd like to welcome everyone from our members, our friends, and sponsors, and everybody, because we've got a lot of good information. And today's guest star is Nancy Alvarez from the SBA. Hi, Nancy. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. It's always a pleasure to come and visit and share with you the latest and greatest information on the SBA.
Well, thank you, because it's such an honor, and I know you have such a busy schedule. And of course, it's great because Nancy is with the SBA, so we're very honored. Thank you, Nancy. Nancy, a lot of our members and friends and people that have gotten involved and been very helpful, thanks to the SBA and getting them some money to keep them in business and all that. Some of the calls that we get to is because there's so much different information on the website that we're very, very glad that we have that you're a great contact for us. And anyway, the questions are a lot of confusion sometimes between an EIDL loan, the Economic Injury Disaster, and also PPP, PPP1, PPP2. And so we figured we're going to go to the best source that we know, and that's you, Nancy. And so would you please honor us with some guidance and wisdom on how we should handle, especially grants? A lot of confusion on with the grants. Okay, so Nancy, I turn it over to you and see what you can help us with.
Absolutely. And so what we're going to do today is, I was saying earlier, there's a lot of good people out there. And when you take a lot of good people and they try to interpret the regulations, it can get complicated because people interpret regulations in a different way. So what I'm going to share with you is the website, and we're going to walk you through the website. We're going to go through some of the programs, and I'm going to help you understand where you can find this information, which is the best reliable source is the SBA. Of course, sometimes you have some bad actors out there that are going to try to take advantage of small businesses. So I hope that you leave today with the understanding that your one source for information on SBA is our website. So we're going to go ahead and demonstrate and talk about some of the programs. And Herb, I'm going to start sharing here the website. And let me know if you're able to see my screen.
I can see your screen. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So the first place that you want to visit is you want to go to www.sba.gov. Please make sure that you got the right URL. We've gotten people that go to sba.com, and that's when it lends itself to being in the wrong side and being taken advantage. So always make sure that you are in a government's website, and you can certainly check that by making sure that you're in an HTTPS and that your extension ends in .gov. And that tells you that you are in a government website. So this is what our website looks like. And we've made things so simple that you can just click right here where it says COVID-19 relief options if you want the latest and greatest information on what's going on with the lending program. So let's start with the different loan programs. And I'm going to help you understand the differences because there is confusion about PPP1, PPP2, what it is, the EIDL, the EIDL target. So we're going to be talking about that. But as we talk about that, we're going to draw the information from the website. So notice that the first page in the COVID relief assistance is going to take you to our primary assistance program. The PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, which provides forgivable loans to help small businesses retain their employees. The second category is the EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and this one really provides loan assistance to small businesses and non-for-profit organizations that have lost revenues due to the pandemic. The third one is our latest and greatest assistance, which is called the Shutter Venue Grant. This one is a grant, okay? Now, let me take you back a year ago because we started the EIDL with a grant, and that grant was up to $10,000. And by mid-June or July of 2020, the grant funds ran out, and those who had not applied for the grant lost the opportunity to receive up to $10,000 in a grant. Now, if you happen to had apply at that point and got some of the 10,000, right? The SBA just currently issued what's called the targeted grant. In the targeted grant, you will get an invitation from the SBA. Why? Because that means that you applied for the grant last year within the time frame allowed, but you did not get the full $10,000. So the only way you're going to take advantage of the targeted EIDL grant is that you got partial funding in 2020. You did not receive the full 10,000, and you will get an invitation from the SBA. If you do not get an invitation for the SBA, you will not have access to the grant fund. So I just wanted to clarify that because that is very confusing for a lot of people. They're hearing the target grant and they're not sure whether or not they can apply for it or not. And again, you cannot apply for it unless you receive an invitation from the SBA. Again, I want to caution those small businesses out there that if you do receive an email, please make sure that the address on the email, make sure you go to the details of that email to see the exact email, and make sure that it has a .gov email address. SBA.gov should be the ending of that email address. Nothing else after that. And now you know that you have a legitimate SBA email invitation. If you are unsure, you can always send me a copy of the email. I'll be more than happy to let you know whether it's a legitimate email or not. But please make sure that you have a legitimate email address. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to all three of these programs and we're going to learn a little bit more. So let's start with our PPP, our Payroll Protection Program. And then when you click on that, as you can see, he'll give you a brief description, an SBA-backed loan that helps businesses keep their workforce employed during the COVID-19 crisis. That is specifically what this loan is for. And if you notice, it will give you here the description of the first PPP loan. And so that what you understand down here will give you the first draw PPP. That's what you call the PPP 1. Second draw PPP loan is what you call PPP 2. And then you have the PPP Loan Forgiveness. And we're going to talk about all three. So if you took advantage of the first PPP program, okay, that's called the first draw PPP. If you want to apply for the second, that means that you did receive a first PPP loan, you would apply then for a second draw PPP. Now, if you did not take advantage of the PPP the first time it came out, then you would be applying for the first draw PPP, and that's very important. If you want to know what the criteria is, you would click on Learn More, and it will tell you certainly what you can use it for, how to apply, if you're an existing borrower. Again, lots of information, and most importantly, when it ends. So the PPP got extended, and it got extended to May 31st, 2021. And it gives you here the details and what you can pay. Certainly the primary principle is to cover your employees, right? So that you don't have to let go your employees. So you can pay payroll costs, your payroll employee. It includes the benefits. It might also be used to pay your mortgage interest, rent, utility, worker protection costs related to COVID-19, uninsured property damage, and so on and so forth. So it gives you great information. It also tells you the applicable interest rate for the loan, which is 1%. See how you're going to get a lot of information here. No collateral or personal guarantee required. You're getting the latest and greatest information on the PPP. Who qualifies if you need to move forward, and how and when to apply. So everything you're going to need, even including, there's a calculator in here to help you calculate your payroll. Again, lots of information right here. How to calculate first draw PPP loan amount and what documentation to provide by business type. Lot of information, very comprehensive. And if you decide to apply and you want to find a lender, you can go down here, find a lender. Okay, and so great information as you go through it. We're gonna move to the second loan draw, or we can go back. I'm gonna do a back just to make sure we know where we were at. So we're back at the original page with the first, second, and forgiveness in front. If we go to the second, we'll go again through the same motion of getting all the information when this was extended. So it will be available till May 31st of 2021, what the loan can be used for, okay, the maximum loan amount and increased assistance for accommodation and food service business. So on the second one, they added some additional companies that could apply for the PPP. And then how do you determine who may qualify, okay? A borrower is generally eligible for the second draw PPP if previously received the first draw PPP. That means that if you have not applied for the PPP before, then you don't want to apply for the second draw. You need to apply for the first draw. That company should not have, or a non-for-profit, because it could be a non-for-profit, should not have more than 300 employees. And you have to demonstrate that at least 25% reduction in your gross receipts between comparable quarters in 2019 and 2020. Again, fairly easy to understand. Again, if there is something in the process that you do not understand, the SBA is available to assist with that. Again, you'll see the how and when to apply. You will need a PPP provider. If you don't have one, if your current lender is not a PPP approved lender, you can go to find a lender, and it will give you lenders that will do PPP loan to individuals that are not their regular customers. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna go to the third portion, which is a very interesting concept here, the PPP loan forgiveness. So the loan forgiveness, you apply for the loan forgiveness if you want your loan forgiven. You are eligible to request a forgiveness on a portion of the loan or the full loan, depending on what the loan was used for. And so again, it's going to tell you that loan forgiveness is available for first and second draw PPP loans. Okay, if you covered at least 24 weeks of employee and compensation for employees, the loan proceeds are spent on payroll costs and eligible expenses, okay? And at least 60% of the proceeds are spent on payroll. So there are certain requirements. Both require you to have spent at least 60% of the profits, the proceeds of the loan on payroll costs, okay, in order to be forgivable. It's gonna go through the process of telling you how and when to apply for the loan. You have 10 months after the last day of the covered period to apply for the PPP. See, then the PPP loan payments are no longer deferred and borrower will begin making loan payments to the PPP lender. So we made this fairly easy to kind of understand. This is how to apply for the loan forgiveness on a PPP. On a PPP loan, remember that you are applying, you apply to the lender, and therefore your loan forgiveness application has to go to the lender. It will tell you here what forms you need to use. If you are confused as to what form you need, please contact your PPP lender and ask them, what forms do I need? You will submit your loan forgiveness application along with the documents that are required, which are included right here, okay, to the bank, okay? You will submit those to the bank, and it is the bank who makes a determination on your loan forgiveness. Okay, there's some additional instructions for the forgiveness loans down at the bottom. The loans, the frequently asked questions, go through them, because like you, a lot of people had questions, and we captured those frequently asked questions and put it in a document ready for you to use. So that's the forgiveness. Again, and the forgiveness is only applicable to PPP loans. So we're back at the front of the page where we started on payroll protection. We're gonna go back one more, and we're gonna go to the beginning. We're gonna move on to the EIDL. The EIDL, again, was the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This was a loan to provide some relief to small businesses and not-for-profits for a temporary loss of revenues. So if you lost your revenues, partial revenues during the pandemic, you can apply for a economic injury disaster loan. It will take you again through the process of the details, what it's for. This loan is processed by the SBA, so you would click on apply, and this will take you directly to SBA's portal to apply for the EIDL loan. If you received a grant, remember I was speaking earlier about it, if you received a grant, you went through this process. So they have your contact information, your email, and that's how you would get an invitation for the target loan. So this is again the application. You would complete this application. As you complete it, you would click go. So I'm going to go back and highlight some additional important things about the EIDL. Here are some frequently asked questions, but I like this little table that they created because it allows you in a nutshell to understand this loan fairly easy. The purpose of the loan, certainly to cover operating expenses incurred by the disaster. The loan amount, we just increased this loan. So the maximum loan was a 26-month coverage for up to 150, and effective April the 6th, the loan maximum amount has been extended to $500,000 and 24 months of coverage. So you would be covered for 24 months, 2 years of coverage. If you apply for an EIDL and want an increase, you are entitled to an increase. Remember that probably when you applied for the EIDL, you got the maximum. The maximum was $150,000. Well, with the new increase, you can request an extension or an increase to your original EIDL loan and get up to $500,000 on that loan. This is a 3.75% fixed interest rate on this loan. It's $275 for non-for-profits. It is a 30-year maturity and no prepayment penalties or fee for early paying this loan. You can use this loan for working capital or normal operating expenses, okay? It talks about the collateral. There's no collateral required if the loan is less than $25,000. Let's see, forgivable. A lot of people ask this. The EIDL loan is not forgivable. That's because usually early on, this was a grant of up to $10,000. So it says yes for EIDL advance. And advance funds have been fully allocated and are not currently available, okay? The maturity is 30 years. And here it gives you some information on who and where to pay the loan. Once you receive this loan and will start making payments, you will go to pay.gov to make your payment, or you can mail your payment to the address on the website. Here is the eligibility for the general. It has to be a business with fewer than 500 employees. It could be any industry. Agricultural businesses, including those businesses engaged in production of food and fiber, including ranching, raising of livestock, aquaculture, and other farming and agricultural related industries also qualify. Originally, they weren't qualified and they were asked to go through the Department of Agriculture, but now they're also covered through this loan. Here's what we just talked about, the loan increase, and if you had received. If you want to apply, you can click here, or you can apply at the top. And here gives you the information on the EIDL, which I just explained to you. You will only get an invitation, okay, if you applied for a portion prior, last year. But here's some great information on that. COVID-19 targeted EIDL advance was signed into law December 27, 2020. This was part of the Economic Recovery Act and some other acts that they highlighted. And it provides businesses in low-income communities with additional funds to ensure small business continuity, adaptation, and resiliency. The advance funds up to $10,000 will be available to applicants in low-income communities. And so again, there is, it'll tell you here, SBA first reach out to EIDL applicants who applied and receive a partial EIDL advance. Okay, applicants are being contacted directly by the SBA via email with instructions to determine eligibility for the advance. So again, kind of repetitive. I just want to make sure that you know where to find this information where you want to read more about it. Okay. The original EIDL is no longer available. So what's left is the advanced EIDL for those individuals that did not get the full amount. So we're going to backtrack here to the beginning, and we're going to cover the shuttle venue. Before we go to the shuttle venue, I just want to let you know that down here, there's some additional relief efforts. This is for people that applied for a regular SBA loan before, and they allow you to defer your payments under this SBA relief, debt relief program. So your loan will be deferred for X amount of time if you currently have an SBA active loan, okay? And then this talks about the cross-program eligibility between the three, but we want to go to the shutter venue grant because this one is a grant. And this grant provides emergency assistance for eligible venues affected by COVID-19. And you might ask, so who can apply for this? So you can go to who can apply, and we can see that eligible entities include live venue operators or promoters, theatrical producers, live performing art organization and operations or operators, relevant museum operations, zoo, aquariums who meet specific criteria, motion picture theater operators, talented representatives or talent representatives, and each business entity owned by eligible entities that also meet the eligibility requirement. So again, this is kind of more for kind of entertainment industry businesses that had to close their venues or their activities due to the pandemic and not being able to be open. So it will provide, here's the grant amount for eligible companies, and here's the amount equal to 45% of their 2019 gross earned revenues or 10 million, whichever is less. For eligible entities that began operation after January 1st, 2019, grants will be for the average monthly gross earned revenues for each full month you were in operations during 2019 multiplied by 6 or 10 million, whichever is less again. Okay? Then it's going to tell you how to apply. Most importantly, this is a grant, so you will have to register in the system for award management. There will be some information further down on this webpage that tells you how to register for SAM, but you must be registered for SAM before you apply, okay? Now, this grant, the opening date for this grant is on April the 8th. Let me just make sure. April the 8th should be the opening date of the grant. I saw it somewhere, I can't find it right away. We'll probably come to it at the end of the page, but the opening date is April the 8th for this grant. So you have plenty of time to get registered in SAM. It takes about 3 days to get registered in SAM and your profile to become active. And so here's how they're going to handle the funds. They're going to give priority to the first 14 days of the grant to entities that suffered a 90% or greater revenue loss between April of 2020 through December of 2020 due to the pandemic. So those are going to get top of the line. Those are going to be serviced first. Then they're going to give another 14 days, and during those 14 days, they're going to look at entities that suffer at least 70% or greater loss of revenues during the same period of time. And then you get a third priority list, which begins 28 days after the first and second priority awards are made. And this is going to target entities that suffered a 25% or greater earned revenue loss due to the pandemic. Okay, there will be some supplemental funding that will be available after all priority periods have passed. And this will cover recipients of first, second, and third priority round awards who suffered a 70% or greater revenue loss for the most recent calendar quarter, which would be as of April 1st of 2021 or later. Okay. The funds that are available can be used to cover payroll costs, rent payments, and there's a number of other activities you can use the proceeds of the grant for. Grantees may not use award funds to buy real estate, make payments on loan originated after February 15 of 2020, make investments or loan, make contributions or other payments to and on behalf of political parties, political committees, or candidates for election, or any other use prohibited by the administrator. Make sure that you read on your guarantee record keeping. It's always important to keep records when you receive a grant or you receive a loan for that matter, but primarily when you're receiving grant funds, you need to make sure that you keep accurate record keeping. There's a few video tutorials on this that you can take a look at. Very helpful, and they're not too lengthy. They're short, but they're, if you need further information, like on how to register on SAM, there is a little clip here that will show you how to register on SAM. So some great information here on the shuttle program. And so in a nutshell, that's really how you navigate the assistance that SBA has available to small businesses during the pandemic. All of these programs that we highlighted today are directly related to the pandemic and certainly will go away. The PPP certainly on May 31st, unless it is extended again. I doubt that, but you never know how things might work. And then certainly the shutter venue grants will go away once they run out of funds. And most likely these programs do run out of funds. They will probably keep the SBA debt relief probably for a little bit longer. This is just deferments on SBA loan. But again, this is your one and only source of information. This website is updated sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. This is where even we, the SBA employees, excuse me, come to get the latest information on the SBA. It's just faster for us to communicate with the audience what's going on. So Herb, I'm gonna open it up to you if you have any additional questions for me, or if I can help with anything else on the webpage or any other questions you might have.
Well, thank you, Nancy. This has been very, very informative. There's things I didn't even know about. So thank you so much. It's like you said, you got to keep checking because it's going to change. One of the things that we get calls is, and maybe you can kind of explain, people trying to find the status of their application. For example, on the EIDL loan or a PPP loan. I understand PPP loans, they need to go to their bank to find out the status of their loan, right?
So for the PPP, most of the time, yes, the banker will have access, but sometimes the SBA does have access to the PPP. On the EIDL, it's changed. In the EIDL, because the DIDL loans are done by the SBA disaster office, we do not have access to those loans. But Elsie Collins has been given access to the EIDL loans. So if you have a member who wants to know his status on an EIDL loan, they can email me the request and I will be more than happy to share it with Elsie Collins, who is the one that has access to the EIDL database, and she can give us a status update, and then we'll share that status update with the applicant. This is, again, to help the disaster office process the amount of requests for status on the EIDL.
Good. And PPP has to go directly to the lender.
It could go directly to the lender, but we have a few staffers on board that have access to the so to the PPP system. So we can check status as well.
So we can send you the members' information, and at least they can try to get a status on their loans. Well, that's good news.
Correct.
This has been very helpful because this is the questions we get a lot, and we're like, well, we don't want to give you incorrect information. So we're going to go to Nancy at the SBA. And this has been very helpful, Nancy. I learned quite a bit, and I know our members and friends and sponsors that are connected with our chamber are really going to benefit from this. So I can't thank you enough for such a great presentation. And it's always an honor and a pleasure to have you on. And so thank you very much. And I'm like they say, we might come back later for more info from you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll be more than happy to be here and answer any questions.
Well, thank you so much, Nancy. And we appreciate it. And I know you got a busy schedule, and I want to thank you. And I'll be able to come out and if you'll unshare your screen, I'll see how I can, oh, I got it, never mind. Anyway, thank you, Nancy. I appreciate it. And we'll be in contact with you, and thank you for the information.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.